Hello, my name's Scott Davis and welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for September 14th to September 20th of 2014. And on September 14th, we have the sun, as you can see here. It's the black circle with a dot in it. It's in Virgo. And if we go a little bit wider, you can see that it's in the 47th hexagram. And on the outside, we see the stack of lines. And the 47th hexagram, of course, numbered from bottom to top, goes yin, yang, yin, yang, yang, yin. And the 47th hexagram is mapped to an opening in an energy channel called a gate. And right here we have the 47th gate of realizing oppression, a restrictive and adverse state as a result of internal weakness or external strength, or both. It's located in the ajna center in an abstract collective energy path in the sensing circuit called the Channel of Abstraction, a design of mental activity mixed with clarity that connects to the 64th gate of confusion before completion. Transition like birth requires a determined strength for the passage through. And I found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person that I do readings for, that it's become my primary tool when I provide readings. And we have the following activated gates on September 14th. We have the sun in the 47 with the earth in the 22. The North Node and Mercury are both in the 57. The South Node and retrograde Uranus are in the 51. And then we've got Venus is in the 40 with Mars in the 34 and Jupiter in the 33, Saturn up in the 43. And Neptune is in retrograde and in the 37, and Pluto is retrograde in the 38. And obviously not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information can be very helpful if you know your human design chart, because some of these transits form potentials with your personal body graph. And you can get your human design chart by going to jovianarchive.com and clicking on the button that says get your free rave chart, and then enter in your birth information. The neutrino forecast is just a weather report, so no matter what the weather is, your individual strategy and authority is the correct choice for having an authentic experience regardless of the program. And as Ra Uru Hu said, whatever the weather is going to be, you have your neutrino umbrella. As long as you're experimenting with your strategy and authority, the weather is for your pleasure. And as we begin the week, we have two channel definitions. We have Venus in the 40 and Neptune in the 37, and this gives us this channel of community until September 14th. This definition brings the energy where people will wonder where they belong in the scheme of things and then try to live that out. It will be a time of thinking about marriage and family as the foundation of community. Fairness is important under the influence of the channel community, and balance is also important in all aspects of life. People will explore how they fit into their community, and on a mystical level, where they fit into the universe and what their true purpose is. The defined ego center will affect 70% of us who have undefined egos, with a sense of worthiness or not worthiness, and perhaps a sense of having something to prove. Now, that's conditioning. Just follow your strategy and authority and see where that leads you. And then also for folks who are not emotionally defined, having the solar plexus defined by the transit field can be uncomfortable because it's this background emotional wave generated. And then we've got Mars in the 34, connected to Mercury and the North Node in the 57. And this is the channel of power, which is the design of the archetype, which will be with us until September 22nd. And this channel brings an attunement to the body that to have a very acute early warning system to anything in our immediate environment. It increases our intuitive awareness through the power of the sacral response. And this may affect folks to feel on guard and alert to any dangers in the moment. This is an animal instinct to engage in battle or jump out of the way in a split second of response, from our attunements to sound and vibration. People will be more in tune with what's being said from the tone of the speaker rather than just the words being spoken. Sometimes this is experienced as a coolness by others, but this individual channel of survival represents the archetype of what it is to be human. The defined splenic center brings intuition and well-being. Ra warned that non-splenic people may let go of something that is good for them during a transit defining the splenic center. And the sacral definition also affects non-generator types in feeling busy and having an endurance to work, but don't get used to it. And of course, this is individual circuitry. So this definition brings melancholy that's best used in some kind of creative activity. So we're going to be looking at the sun's Ravi-Ching line values daily, because 70% of the neutrinos we receive come through the sun. And as Ross said in Living with the Program, The Lines of the Day, when talking about these shifts in line values, he said we can take advantage of the themes of the day. Now, if your strategy and authority does not lead you in that direction, you can just always notice how the program is affecting others in your environment. So let's get started. September 14th, the sun, as we begin, is in the fifth line, the heretical line of the 47th hexagram, and the sun in the 47.5 is described as the saint. This position has special significance, and here no planet is in detriment. Exalted, the gift in time of oppression to maintain without hypocrisy a harmonic relationship with one's oppressors while providing aid and succor to the oppressed. Realization at its most exalted, acceptance of the weight of the abstract process and the grace that naturally follows. There's no polarity detrimented. There's no planet in detriment. Fifth line days is heretical. It's a day of suspicion, but it's also a day of universalization, where something can spread very rapidly, like a Facebook page or a YouTube video goes viral. But we also talk about the fact that there's suspicion and paranoia on a fifth line day, which impacts the nature of relationships. Remember, fifth lines are about projection, and the projection starts as positive and then shifts to negative. So it starts as they'd be great at it, they could do it, they'd be perfect. And then if they don't do it, can't do it, for whatever reason it doesn't get done, then the projection turns negative. So it's important to recognize that, and because such projections, you're not really paranoid if they're really out to get you. Seduction is also another fifth line day theme. But then later on the 14th, the sun moves up into the sixth line, the role model line of the 47th hexagram. The shift happens at 10:09 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. All the times I'm giving you are going to be Eastern Daylight Time, so you're going to convert it to your local time zone. The sun in the 47.6 is futility, a difficult position for which there is no exaltation. Exalted, no polarity. Detriment, the sun in detriment, where the strength of will alone may find a way to adapt and survive, but without hope of ever overcoming the oppression. Life as an ordeal, stripped of realization. And six line days, Ra talked about, here we are, we're on the roof of the hexagram, we're not looking at the house we're sitting on, we're looking at everything else that's in the neighborhood. And Ra talks about, that not to get stuck with your head in the cloud, because you could have something running into your kneecaps or your shins or something of that nature. So this is a day where there's a lack of focus on what's going on around us. Folks are going to be not looking much about what's happening in their immediate environment. So in like third line days, it might be, the danger of not seeing something coming, like a bill or a car or something of that nature. And then also on the 14th, this Venus moves from the 40th hexagram up to the 64th. Up here, giving us this definition. All right, and then of course, and then also Neptune is moving from the 37 retrograde, so it's moving backwards into the 55, and we're going to talk about this quite a little bit later on. Let's start with Venus. Venus is very powerful, deeply misunderstood according to Ra. It brings morality, natural law, in which we deal with the other and the consequences of the world around us. What disturbs you on a moral level, your design and personality. Venus tell us about the moral dilemma that you're going to work with in life. And if you do not act with moral clarity, Venus can be very unkind in its retribution. Venus in the 64th gate of confusion before completion, transition, like birth, requires a determined strength for the passage through. And Venus is exalted in the first, second, and fifth lines of the 64, and detrimented in the sixth line. So in the 64-1, it's conditions exalted in penetrating to the center, the understanding that instills the necessary harmony to survive disorder. Amongst the confusion, the difficulty in finding the point. And retrograde Neptune, like we said, is gone from the 37 and backed into the 55. And this is significant because Neptune is returning to the gate of the spirit for the last time for over 150 years, and it's going to remain in the 55th hexagram until January 14th of 2015. And Neptune brings a veil. It doesn't let us see what things are all about. Neptune will kind of trap you if you try to get behind the veil. And this is where we learn surrender. Operating correctly by following our strategy and authority is surrender. In the 55, Neptune brings the veil to spirit. Abundance. Abundance is strictly a question of spirit. And Neptune backs into the sixth line. So it's retrograde, so it's coming in here in the role model line from 37, which would be the next hexagram when it's moving direct. So the sixth line is selfishness, exalted acquisition, obsession that through acquisition obsession through alienation is still indirectly beneficial materially to others. The probability of finding spirit through materialism. Detrimented where material abundance exists, but no one gets to share the light. The possibilities that materialism becomes obsessive with a mean spirit that will not share. And here we have Venus in the 64 and the Sun in the 47. This brings us the channel of abstraction, the design of mental activity mixed with clarity until the 15th. The energy of this channel is about creating something new out of something old. This is about abstract thought being brought into the collective consciousness through the arts, philosophy, history, and culture. This is wonderful energy for telling stories about our experiences that inspire others, but brings confusion when used to resolve our own issues. A very short-lived definition here, because on the 15th, the Sun moves out of the 47. Keep Venus up there. But the Sun moves into the 6th hexagram. And the Earth moves into the 36. and the 36th gate of crisis, the darkening of light, the rules of cycles in which decline is a natural but not enduring stage. And this shift happens at 9:15 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on the 15th, which with the sun in the 6th gate of friction, conflict, the fundamental design component of progress, the law that growth cannot exist without friction. And the sun is in the first line, so we're in the investigative line of the 6, and this is retreat, the realization that wasting one's resources against overwhelming odds is not courage but folly, exalted the power of regeneration that can embrace retreat as a phase and not a failure, the emotional stability to accept conflict. Detrimented, the inferiority conflicts where retreat is experienced as personal weakness, emotional instability in times of conflict. And so now that we've moved into a new hexagram and we're in the first line, the first, second, and third lines bring more of an inward perspective. People are more absorbed in their own process. The first line themes are fear and anxiety that needs to be investigated. So it's a day to study, a day where you might look into something, a day where you can, try to understand something you don't understand or can't make sense of or simply don't know. Do some research is kind of the energy that we get in the line of the investigator. And then on the 16th, the sun moves into the second line. So it moves into the hermit line of the 6th hexagram. The shift happens at 8:20 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 6-2 is described as the gorilla, the ability to maximize an inferior position through timely contact and withdrawal. Exalted, aesthetic sensitivity and material detail that can find the weakest point. The sensitivity to find the weakest point in a conflict and to exploit it emotionally. Detrimented, the kamikaze, striking but moot. A lack of sensitivity that blunders into conflicts. And second line days, so the hermit, people are waiting for something. They're waiting to be called for their natural talents. So people can be really kind of stuck in their own experience, their own trip. So it might not be the best day for having a big social occasion because people want to hang out at home. Then also on the 16th, Jupiter moves from the 33 to the 7. And in human design, Jupiter is generalized law, the electromagnetic central operating theater in which the solar system operates. Living by the law can bring great good fortune. Activations in our human design charts of Jupiter tell us the law that we must live by. To benefit from the generosity only comes from deep obedience to honoring your own law, your individual strategy and authority. Jupiter in the 7th gate of the role of the self, the army, the point of convergence. By design, the need for leadership to guide and order society. And Jupiter enters in the first line of the 7th hexagram, which is the authoritarian, the iron hand, both enlightened and despotic. Exalted, basic values and rules imposed on a child, the capacity of the self to guide with authority. Detrimented, the distorted intellect that believes only it knows best. The capacity of the self to insist that its authority is best. On the 17th, the sun moves into the 3rd line. So we're up here in the line of the martyr of the 6th hexagram, shift happening at 7:24 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And the 3rd line of the 6th hexagram is allegiance. The ability to secure support and create strength out of a weak position. When connected to the harmonic gate, the 59, So when it's connected over here, mating results in conception. Exalted, the destruction of old forms through union, either mundane or as above sexual union, or exalted as universalization, the depth of feelings that can enrich union and intimacy. Detrimented, the rejection of allegiance as submission to the established order. Sensitivity to control, sensitivity to controls which may eventually reject intimacy. And third line days, so we're up here, this is the martyr, bonds made and broken, a trial and error process, a system of discovery by figuring out what doesn't work. So the energy of the third line is, be careful on the roads, be careful of what's going on in your environment. It's a material day, where something can bump into you. You might also have bonds made or bonds broken. Of course, there's a trial and error process energy to the third line. But you have to be careful with whatever you do, because things can go wrong. But those things that go wrong are really about finding new discoveries. And then also on the 17th, Mercury's moving out of the 57 and into the 32. Of course, we still have the 57 because the north node of the moon is in the 57. So anyway, Mercury is the messenger of the gods. This is communication, expansion of human consciousness through communication. And Ra talks about it being not just as words, but also as music. And so what do you need to communicate in life? Well, we communicate the message of our design Mercury through the medium of our personality Mercury. So what might be communicated when we've got Mercury in the 32? Well, survival on the material plane, or the fear that there may not be enough resources for the tribe or the family. This is the gate of continuity. Duration. The only thing that endures is change. And Mercury's direct, so we're in the first line of the 32, and this is conservation, exalted, a life-sustaining respect and attention to all aspects of a process. The potential to develop instinct through detailed attention to the process. Detrimented, the uncontrollable urge to bypass essentials, which inevitably leads to the disruption of continuity, the fear of lack of potential, and the corresponding lack of attention. And then on the 18th, the sun moves into the fourth line of the 6th hexagram. So we're up here in the line of the opportunist. This shift happening at 6:27 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, where the sun is exalted and described as triumph, a position on natural and unchallengeable power. Exalted, the charity and wisdom that must come with victory and the movement towards new horizons. The power of emotions to dominate a relationship. And fourth line days, we're really looking at a change of perspective as we've moved out of the lower trigram into the upper trigram. And so we're moving from a more of an inward process into more of an outward social process in interactions. Fourth line themes, we've got friendship, companionship, networking. It's a great day for social interaction. People are more open to networking, more open to being friendly and social under the fourth line energetic. And then on the 19th, the sun moves up into the fifth line. So we're back to the heretic, at this time of the 6th hexagram, the shift happening at 5:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 6th hexagram, fifth line, is described as arbitration, the faith derived from analytical diligence and emotional control that permits a higher authority to judge a conflict. Exalted, harmony furthered through the avoidance of direct conflict, sensitivity to conflict that can lead to avoidance of intimacy. Detrimented, where the party to arbitration sees itself as the best judge and will only accept judgment if it is the victor, insensitive to the concerns of others in a conflict. And fifth line days, we talked about this earlier. We were talking about the heretic. We talked about, that there's suspicion, projection, universalization, seduction, all these energetics that are affecting the fifth line energy. And then also on the 19th, Venus moves from the 64 to the 47. And in human design, we talked about Venus being about that it's about morality and natural law. So we've got Venus in the 47th gate of realizing oppression, a restrictive and adverse state as a result of internal weakness or external strength, or both. And Venus is exalted in the fifth line of the 47th hexagram, but we're direct, so we are in the first line of the 47, and this is taking stock, exalted, the ability in times of hardship to concentrating on eradicating the negative factors that have led to oppression, realizing that negative thoughts have to be eradicated, detrimenting the delusion of seeing oppression as an exclusively external phenomena with disastrous results, a sense that the world is against you. And then the 20th, the sun moves into the sixth line. So we're up on the role model, the roof of the hexagram of the sixth. And the shift happening at 4:32 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the sixth hexagram, sixth line, is the peacemaker, the discipline and integrity of a superior force to unilaterally cease conflict and permit surrender and survival of its foe. Exalted, the highest form of reason is that life is sacred. The emotional power to end conflict tempered with by feelings and sensitivity to others. Detriment, the peacemaker whose actions are just but whose terms are unacceptable. The emotional power to end conflict, but only after one's conditions have been satisfied. And again, so sixth line, back on the roof of the hexagram, back looking at things beyond our immediate environment, other things that are going on. Just be careful of, things that are in your immediate environment. Anyway, the sun continues to be moving through the 40th, 64th, 47th, and 6th hexagrams, which are the gates associated with the Harmonia godhead, which is the Greek goddess of harmony and concord, which was covered in the offering from August 31st. So next week we'll be looking at the Christ godhead. But this week I want to talk about the 55th hexagram, as Neptune is returning to the sixth line, because this is also the degree of the next global cycle, when the precession of the equinox retrogrades from the 37-1 back into the 55-6, and that's actually the natural direction for the precession of the equinox. It always looks as if it's moving in reverse to the way we expect planets to move, and it moves into the 55-6 in February of 2027. And the precession of the equinox is caused by the fact that the Earth has a slow wobble on its axis. So the axis over time it wobbles, which causes us to move through the themes of the zodiac and the hexagrams in reverse. And this is a 25,772 year-long cycle to move through 360 degrees. And it's called the Great Year in astrology, moving through great months like the age of Leo, then Cancer, then Gemini, then Taurus, then Aries, and currently we're in the age of Pisces. And these ages are each 2,148 years long, and we experience 1 degree of movement through the zodiac every 71.6 years. In human design, this is called the Global Consciousness Program, which is different from the planetary program, which we cover in the daily neutrino forecast. So we've been in the 37th hexagram, in the global cycle since 1615, which was marked as the explosion of the industrial age. And we've been in the first line of the 37 since 1960. And the first line, of course, is about a secure foundation and investigation. And in the 37, it's about family, tribe, and community. But as we are approaching the 6th line of the 55th hexagram, we start to experience the breakdown of supports for the tribe and community. And we're experiencing the breakdown of the bargain. And in 2027, we're going to enter into the 6th line. And the 6th line is about mutation and transition, which we're already experiencing. And the foundation is disappearing. And this is really alarming if you're not aware that this is actually an evolutionary process. So we are currently in the 37-1 breakdown phase of the support for communities as we're moving from the cross of planning, which is the 37, the 40, the 9, and the 16, to the cross of the sleeping phoenix, which is the 55, 59, 34, and 20. So we're moving from tribal and collective logic gates to predominantly mutative individual gates. So in 2027, we move to spirit abundance that's strictly a question of spirit, in the 6th line of the 55, which is selfishness, acquisition, obsession, through alienation is still indirectly beneficial materially to others or not. And this is not our standard selfishness, like having a selfish ego, but more of the selfishness of the spirit. So it's really not negative. It's about putting our integrity and our authentic self first, which we do through our strategy and authority. Following your strategy and authority, you could look at it as being very selfish because it's really about yourself, but ultimately it's going to serve you, and by that serve others who you are in your environment. And gate 55 and its corresponding DNA codon, histidine, is where the mutation actually takes place, where the emotional spirit awakens. The children born with this mutation are the rave children. They're the next evolution of our species. The solar plexus will change into a pure awareness center, like the splenic center and ajna center are currently. So the solar plexus will no longer be a motor generating an emotional wave in the children born with this mutation. This is a movement from left brain strategic thinking to right brain receptive thinking. And this is an emergence of a whole new kind of cognition. So anyway, no matter what the energies that are conditioning you during the week, remember that this experience is really about being a passenger riding in a vehicle driven by the magnetic monopole. So enjoy the scenery. Let the vehicle take you where you need to go through using your strategy and authority. Every single day is a blessing, no matter what the dramas that beckon to distract us. I believe we're all here just giving the performance of our lifetime on the world stage. Just take some time out to observe your play, observe your movie, as well as act your part. Remember, you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. And I'd like to thank you for checking out New World Birth. And the next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be for September 21st to 2014. Should be available on the 20th, when we're going to continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. You can check us out on Facebook or Blogger or YouTube. New World Birth has presences on each of those sites. And I encourage you to share this information, whether it's as a video or as text, as widely as you choose. I'll also be discussing the transits of 2014 and providing some short human design readings to the participants of the Earth Needs Rebels show on Truth Frequency Radio on Wednesday, October 1st. The show starts at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I come on at 1:30 and we run to 3. You can participate in the show by getting into the chat space for Earth Needs Rebels on Truth Frequency Radio, or you can personally message Katie, and they'll call you for free anywhere on the planet to bring you live onto the show. So love to have you join us on Wednesday, October 1st for the Earth Needs Rebels show. As always, I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or wish to schedule a reading. And if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I'd love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You will need to be able to call me in Maine, in the USA, or we connect with Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. Best way to make a donation, get a reading. They're very beneficial, but if that's not what you have time for right now, please feel free to make a donation through PayPal using the newworldbirth@yahoo.com email address, or just email me and I'll send you directions. As always, I'm blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for all these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. In Lakesh, namaste. And as Ra would say, love yourself. And so, thank you for checking us out here, and looking forward to connecting on the radio show or in a reading or a future video. But thanks to everybody. Peace.